I was deeply saddened and outraged by the explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday. And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you. But there's a lot of people out there not sure.
There was President Biden with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu earlier this morning. Biden blaming Hamas for the bombing of a Gaza hospital yesterday, while the Palestinians say it was Israel's fault. Hezbollah has declared a day of unprecedented anger in response. The Arab leaders Biden was planning to meet today have all canceled. They canceled their summit in Jordan to protest that airstrike. The U.S. also warning Americans not to travel to Lebanon after mobs of protesters surrounded the embassy in Beirut, reportedly throwing rocks and Molotov cocktails. Jordanian protesters also attempted to storm the Israeli embassy yesterday. Joining me right now is Arizona Congressman Eli Crane, a member of the House Homeland Security Committee and a former Navy SEAL himself. Congressman, thanks very much for being here this morning, and thank you for your service to this great country.
Hey, Maria, thanks for having me.
I want to ask you about the Homeland. You're on the Homeland Security Committee. What does all of this mean for America?
Well, I think what this means for America is we need to support Israel. We have supported them in the past. We're doing it right now, and we'll continue to support them in the future. As a Christian, I'm well aware of the book of Genesis, where God says, I will bless those who bless Israel and curse those who curse Israel. I think we can continue to support Israel, but here's the thing, Maria. We can do that and make the safety of our own citizens first and primary, and that's something that we hardly ever do. This is, to me, this is one more time where many members of Congress and our leaders look to something else, an atrocity going on in the world, and they completely drop the ball and forget about what's going on here. They forget about our wide open border, the 240 individuals that have been, since Biden took office, that have been on the terror watch list, that have been encountered at the southern border, and the 1.5 million gotaways. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they're going. We don't know what they're up to. And if you don't think there's any lone wolves in there or terrorist cells that have come in through that wide open border, you're a fool.
Yeah, well, we've been talking about that all morning. But I guess what I'm saying is, given all of that, how worried are you about a terrorist attack in America? I spoke with Ted Cruz the other day, the senator from Texas, and he said to me, the threat of a terrorist activity in America is the highest it's been since 9/11 right now. So what are your thoughts on the potential of upset here on U.S. soil?
You know, Maria, I hate to say it, but to me, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. This is what happens when you play stupid games. You win stupid prizes. And this is why this administration and my colleagues on the other side infuriate me, because they play politics with border security, and they put politics above the safety of Americans. You know, when I'm sitting in these committee hearings, I can't even get colleagues on the other side to admit that a wall or a barrier is an important part of a security system. They'll sit there and say, oh, yeah, well, people can go over the wall or people can tunnel under the wall. And that's true, Maria. But the fact of the matter is that real security has always been and will always be overlapping deterrence. It's not just a wall by itself. It's a wall. It's, you know, it's agents that are well trained. It's intelligence and so many other things that work in coordination to keep Americans safe.
Yeah.
And you can tell this administration wants nothing to do with keeping Americans safe by their actions and their policy changes.
So this all goes back to bad policy, is what you're saying. And we've seen the implications of bad policy from the economic landscape to the foreign affairs landscape in the last 2.5 years, up front and personal. President Biden, meanwhile, met with Israel's war cabinet moments ago. Prime Minister Netanyahu says that this about the war with Hamas. Watch this.
This will be a different kind of war because Hamas is a different kind of enemy. While Israel seeks to minimize civilian casualties, Hamas seeks to maximize civilian casualties.
Here's a live shot of the anti-Israel protests in the West Bank right now. Congressman, your thoughts?
Well, it's horrible, Maria. I mean, if you think about what Hamas did a couple days ago in Israel, it's atrocious, it's sadistic. Every American knows it. And this is going to be a very brutal conflict. Anybody who's ever fought in an urban environment knows how dangerous it is. We know there's always more doorways, rooftops, and window sills than you have guns to cover down on. But when I see videos like this, Maria, it reminds me just how important it is to actually protect our own citizens. And I don't want to see this stuff start spilling over onto American soil. And as a representative of Arizona's 2nd Congressional District, that's my #1 priority, is to protect Americans. And right now, we're not doing that.
So how should we be doing it? What policies do you think we need to be implementing here in America immediately to ensure safety?
Well, first and foremost, you have to secure the border.
Right.
You have to secure the border. I said 1.5 million gotaways, 240 people on the terror watch list. You have to turn the spigot off immediately, and then you have to start dealing with the people who I talked about. You don't know who they are, you don't know where they went, but you have to start rounding them up and, you know, getting them out. And I hate to say it, but that's just the fact of the matter. You have to do that. We owe that to the American people to keep them safe.
Iran is warning Israel that it will face another shockwave of attacks if the country continues its assault on Hamas territory in Gaza. Tehran is also calling for the Islamic countries to sanction Israel. The Iranian embassy in Syria posted on X this: "Time is up," in Hebrew hours after the hospital strike in Gaza, Congressman. This feels like it's getting bigger and worse.
It does, Maria. And that being said, I think we need to do everything we can to stay level-headed and to try and make sure that this doesn't escalate into something bigger. And that's why I'm disappointed to see some of the rhetoric coming from some of my other colleagues who have never been to war. They've never lost friends. They've never had to go tell a mother, you know, that your son is dead. He's never coming home again. And, you know, it's just like we just go from one endless war to the next, Maria. And I said it. We need to support Israel. They're our biggest ally, our best ally, but at the same time, we need to be very careful that we try not to escalate this into anything bigger than it absolutely has to be.
Here's Bob Nardelli.
Hey, Congressman, Bob Nardelli here. First of all, thank you for your service. God bless you for representing, you know, the people of this country so well in your committee. But again, Maria asked you the question. I mean, what does it take? Can the priority be the importance of getting votes by open borders versus protecting the citizens of this country? What really happens inside that committee? Are they candid about what's really happening here with these potential cells that are going to be opening up across our country?
No, they're really not. And, you know, it's like when we're sitting in there, a lot of times they'll deflect and they'll start talking about how white supremacy is the #1 threat to the homeland, or they'll start talking about how, you know, one of the biggest threats is that we have, you know, so many firearms in the country that they go south. It's like, I feel like I'm living in La La Land. Meanwhile, we have 90,000 Americans every year dying from fentanyl.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't make any sense. And this shouldn't be a partisan issue, as you guys know.
Right.
Every single one of us that is up here has a responsibility. That's our #1 responsibility outside of protecting their God-given, unalienable rights.
Congressman, we want to ask you about the speaker's race, but we have breaking news right now in Morgan Stanley.